Today on Comicstorian, we're going to meet Doom 2099 as he enters into the battle against Thor 2099 and Valhalla. This is the Comicstorian channel where I take some of your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues and I break them down into digestible bites. I break them down into a synopsis so that you understand what happens in the world of comic books. You can get a general idea as we cut out a lot of the fluff and the additional side stories. Then you can go to your local comic book store and buy it yourself or add it to your collection. Your choice. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Today's video is sponsored by Shortboxed, the app making it easier to buy and sell graded comics online. Are you a comic book collector and looking to start your first collection? Then Shortboxed might be the app for you. Shortboxed is available to download for free on both iOS and Android, and makes shopping for graded comics easier than ever. With browsing features and a clean and clear interface, you can easily find the comic that you're looking for. It's grade in a description before being able to buy for a set price or make your own offer. All purchased comics will be mailed to your house safe and sound, making it easier than ever to start a collection. On top of that, we've partnered with Shortboxed to do a giveaway for a copy of Amazing Spider-Man 365 graded at 9.0 by the CGC. This is the first appearance of Miguel O'Hara, aka Spider-Man 2099, and it can be yours for free. Simply head over to shortbox.com/comicstorian to enter for a chance to win this awesome comic and get a promo code for $15 off of your first Shortboxed order. Don't wait. Start your collection today with Shortboxed and go to shortboxed.com/comicstorian. Now, we've been covering Spider-Man 2099's entire history right here at the Comicstorian channel, and recently the story jumped into a giant 2099 crossover in which Thor 2099 finally came back to the world, and he brought Valhalla with him. The superheroes found this to be a bit odd, and so Spider-Man 2099 attempted to battle against him, but he was thrown out of Valhalla. Then Ravager and the X-Men went into the fight to discover some interesting side information that individuals such as Loki was actually one of the X-Men. But as no one was seemingly able to get rid of Thor, it took a larger power to arrive: Doom. And when we last left off, Thor was getting tired of all of these superheroes fighting against him. We now start with Doom 2099 issue number 14. Thor is holding his hammer high as the storms whirl around him. He lands staring down at his fallen Heimdall, shocked that someone acted this way as the gods have returned, and Loki stands before him smiling. Blame these twisted, spoiled children of Midgard, my sibling. They conspire against you and your noble intent. And Meanstreak shouts for his friend, ordering him to stop playing games. But it is Doom that steps out of the shadows, telling him, "You can't reason with the god of deception, even a false one," he rumbles, knowing that these gods aren't real. The real threat is the city of Valhalla and its engines, which threatens to destroy all. But Thor whirls on them. "You dare question my divinity? Arrogant mortals, I will not stand for such impudence." He shouts as he rushes at Doom with his hammer. That hammer slamming into Doom, sending him flying through a wall. But the ancient monarch's sensors tell him that the energy seems to be coming from the hammer. Loki floats to Doom, questioning what role he plays in this. "What do you want from me, trickster?" Doom questions. But Loki shrugs, merely explaining to Doom that he shouldn't confront Thor physically. But Thor shoves Loki aside as he rushes at Doom. Doom realizes what Loki was talking about, reaching out, grasping Thor's hammer in his hands. "Mortal, what are you doing? None may touch Mjolnir but me." Thor bellows, but Doom is using his suit tech to block the energy flowing out of Mjolnir into Thor. The X-Men look on as the power begins to build up, surprised that Doom can stand against someone as powerful as Thor, even if he is a false god. And they watch as the power builds up, a massive explosion ripping through the city, sending both Doom and Thor plummeting to New York below in a massive fireball. "That was some drop. Think either of them survived?" Meanstreak asks, and after the fight, Loki turns away. Loki explains that Boone, their friend, is gone, and that he is the god of mischief now. Before Meanstreak can stop him, Loki transforms into a wolf, leaping away. "I sabotaged Alchemex's greatest weapon, and they made me a god for it," he calls out with a laugh. Meanwhile, far below, Alchemex has already arrived at the crater from Thor and Doom, pulling the body of the god and his hammer out of the rubble. But Doom watches quietly from the shadows, thinking about how his suit managed to shift his density so that it could slow his descent. My armor's cloaking device will allow me to follow this crew to what master these street sweepers deliver this fallen god to. He thinks to himself. Later, Thor awakens in a dark lab within the Alchemex building, and he looks up in shock at the body of Sif floating in a tube. You can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, the CEO says as he enters the room, explaining that they lost Sif when they learned the proper way to imprint the god's genetic DNA. Thor becomes angry, rushing forward to fight the CEO, but the man speaks to his computer systems, ordering them to revert Thor. He bellows in pain as a bright flash of light rips through the room, and when it clears, he has fallen to the ground. He has reverted to Reverend McAdams, a simple priest of Thor, a simple Thorite. My God, I really was Thor. Forgive me, he whispers, and the CEO stands over him, explaining that when he transforms, he forgets his mortal identity. Now you can remain a sniveling little priest, or you can become Thor again, the CEO tells him, ordering the computer to convert him back into Thor. With another flash of light, Thor stands before him. You'll find Mjolnir in a case to your left. Now return to Valhalla and remember, in this life, I am your Allfather, the CEO says as Thor takes his weapon, leaping out the window, flying towards the flying city. But that's when Doom steps out of the shadows. You played your hand too soon, Avatar. I am surprised that you have been so visible in this deception, he says, but Avatar looks at Doom. He knows that his predecessor underestimated Doom. I will not make that mistake. Doom points out that the false gods only served to create conflict. Avatar mods, explaining that that was the point, that the heroes emerging had given the people hope. But Alchemex needs them to remain dependent, so he created his own heroes to continue for the people to depend upon the corporation. Avatar gives Doom a sinister smile, knowing that the monarch can deal with him, or the more immediate threat of the city falling from the sky. Can you let all the people on board and below Valhalla die, Doom? Meanwhile, on board the city, the X-Men continue to move through the city as the people become more panicked, with Valhalla shaking as the engines fail. Crystalline shouts to the others, knowing that they need to start getting people to the lifeboats, and Bloodhawk nods, flying into the air trying to get people's attention, motioning them towards the lifeboats. Spider-Man and Punisher finally arrive back on the scene, noting the strange creature and assuming that he's at least on their side. I can help with that, Spider-Man says as he jumps down looking at the people. Listen up! This is the Harbinger of Thor, Spider-Man! Punisher begins to shoot his blaster over Spider-Man's head. Yeah, they weren't listening to you, he says with a shrug as Spider-Man stares at him. He turns back to the people, ordering them to continue the evacuation in an orderly fashion. Or else! He warns out, and Spider-Man turns in shock as Loki appears before him, smiling as he informs the wall crawler that it is only right that he is here, since his arrival first began the worry that started all of this within Alchemex. Jordan? Spider-Man asks in surprise, but Punisher raises his blaster, warning Spider-Man to get down so that he can shoot the trickster, but that's when Loki disappears again. He appears elsewhere in the city, happy that his plans have worked out so well. Meanstreak suddenly comes to a stop beside him, demanding that his old friend help him save the city. You used to be more fun, Loki tells him with a frown, and Meanstreak lashes out at him, but Loki informs his old friend that he is merely jealous of his new power. And with that, he transforms into a bird, flying away. The city shudders again, and Meanstreak rushes away to find his friends, finding them in the last lifeboat and jumping in as they launch away. Meanwhile, Doom flies back to the city, thinking about how Avatar was correct, that he would save the city, but only because he has his own plans for this Valhalla. He lands next to the Punisher and Spider-Man, and Punisher whirls on him, firing his blaster, but the rounds bounce off of Doom's armor. Recognize an ally, Punisher. Together, we will salvage Valhalla, Doom tells him, his eyes glowing red. You're doomed? Punisher asks, looking him up and down. And Spider-Man flips down at them, pointing out that Doom is supposed to be a bad guy. History repeats. Your 20th century counterparts were equally annoying. Doom rumbles at them, waving away their questions, explaining that the Aesir were created to stop the heroes. But Ravage suddenly pokes his head out of a doorway, shouting for Doom, explaining that everything he tried to do can't fix the engines. I don't know how much time we have left before the city falls out of the sky, he shouts. Meanwhile, Valhalla begins to plummet. Spider-Man is clinging to the wall, looking down at his new team aboard Valhalla. What are we supposed to say? All for one and one for all? He asks Doom, Punisher, and Ravage. But Doom looks at all of those gathered. Circumstances have forced our hand. We must become a team, like it or not. He tells the group. Their conversation is interrupted as the other members of Valhalla rush them. Ravage explains that they are known as the Berserkers, and the group rushes at them with the heroes forced to face them in battle. Ravage then quickly knocks them away with Punisher cracking them with his crowbar. Spider-Man leaps behind them, kicking another Berserker in the face before he can attack the hero. The group is quickly defeated, but the Punisher points out that the rest of the Aesir won't go down as easily as these Berserkers. Exactly, Punisher. Which is where you come in. Doom tells him, quickly telling the group the plan. With him and Ravage going to the engine rooms, Ravage will destroy the engines after Doom reroutes the power matrix. Sure. And then Valhalla will cruise back up into the sky instead of crashing into the city, Ravage says with a nod. So what's my role in all of this? Punisher asks, and Spider-Man looks at him. You pass the screwdriver and you make the coffee. But before Doom can continue, the hollow image of Avatar appears before them, the CEO gloating at his supposed triumph, reminding them that his Aesir will lead mankind onto a path of righteousness. Ravage leaps forward, not realizing that the Avatar is a hollow image, but the distraction gives Doom enough time to hack the image and displace it, allowing them to remain hidden from the CEO's watchful eye. He finally turns back to Punisher. Are you armed? Punisher raises an eyebrow. Is water wet? He asks as he pulls out a massive revolver. But Doom explains that he'll need more than a hand cannon. Punisher nods, reaching into his bag, pulling out an entire arsenal of weapons. Impressive. I thought you were dangerous, but I never imagined you carried such firepower. Doom tells him, and Doom looks at Spider-Man and Punisher, telling them to go and deal with the Aesir. Can't promise I'll deal with them, but I'll kill a few. Punisher says as they turn, the pair quickly coming in contact with Heimdall and Baldur. They open fire on them and the heroes scatter, but Punisher returns fire at the incoming Baldur. What Spider-Man doesn't know is that Jake Gallo, the alter ego of Punisher and the man trapped in his mind, was once a Thorite, and his brother is the brainwashed Baldur. Heimdall rushes him next, but Punisher blocks his sword with a nano knuckle duster. Spider-Man leaps in, kicking the god in the face, knocking him away. Baldur swings his blade from behind, but Punisher manages to jump in the way of the blade, blocking the blow from killing the wall crawler. I've had enough of this! The plasma gas cannon! I'll turn their skin into hairspray. Punisher thinks to himself as he pulls out another massive weapon, aiming it. But Jake Gallows is in his mind, telling him to stop, telling him that he can't kill his brother. Spider-Man shouts for Punisher to pull the trigger, but the man is frozen. This is not the time to have a nervous breakdown, Punisher! Pull the shotgun trigger! Spider-Man shouts, leaping forward, punching Punisher in the face. The blow seems to snap the Punisher out of it, and he smiles a crazed smile. Thanks, Spider-Man. Don't know what happened there. He shouts, pulling the trigger, melting the air before him in a spray of energized poison gas. The gods fall as they scream in death. Spider-Man looks over the edge, pointing out that they are hovering right over New York. Meanwhile, Doom has finished his adjustments and shouts for Ravage to destroy the engines. With an explosion, the rerouted power begins to lift the city back into the air, leaving New York safely behind. But Thor suddenly flies through the wall, shouting that Ragnarok must take place, that no mere mortal can rule Valhalla, and that he will bring it down in response. He slams Mjolnir into the council, reverting the power once more, causing the city to begin to fall out of the sky again. The hammer must fall! Thor shouts. And with Thor being spun away in the blast, Punisher and Spider-Man leap after him, trying to grab hold of the god. What have you done? Punisher shouts, and Doom shouts for the hero to grab Thor's hammer, knowing that they can use it to reverse the energy vortex. The two of them manage to wrestle the hammer out of Thor's grip, and he twists and throws it into the energy vortex, causing a massive explosion that throws Thor away. The city once again begins to fly upward, leaving the heroes to fall back in exhaustion. Punisher struggles to his feet as the others believe that he is dead. But Avatar appears once more, gloating that even though they have stopped his plan, he still has the power to kill them all at his leisure. He considers himself the Grand Master and will continue to influence the events. Punisher becomes angry, shouting at the CEO, but the CEO promises to kill them all, starting with the Punisher. An image then appears before them, of the Punisher strapped to his own torture device. The heroes look on grimly, wondering if Avatar's promises will come true. And there you have it, the conclusion to Thor arriving in 2099. Now, I was considering doing Doom Volume 1, where you can discover why Doom is here and what he's doing. But other than that, the crossover is now complete. Next week, we're going to get right back to Spider-Man after all of these events, and we're going to head back to just normal Spider-Man 2099 storylines. But I hope you guys enjoyed this and enjoyed seeing all the crazy 90s characters showing up, from Punisher to the X-Men. And also, for the record, some people called me out for giving one of the characters, I think it was Mean Streak, I don't remember which one of the crazy 90s characters last week a goofy voice. Honestly, when your entire team is like 7 dudes with names like Bloodhawk and Mean Streak, I was trying to do like 7 different edgy voices and try to make them sound different. It wasn't working, so I just gave up and started giving them all voices. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and let me know in the comments down below. I can't promise we're gonna do a full run of Doom 2099, but if you're interested in Doom 2099 or even Punisher 2099, let me know in the comments down below. We might just do Volume 1 and see what you guys think. Either way, don't forget, next week we'll be continuing our 2099 adventures, and I'm already considering what to do in this slot after we're done, and I'm considering the Amalgam books, but you know, I need you guys to let me know if you want that. Either way, thank you guys so much for your continued support. Don't forget to check out Shortbox and check out our deal with them, and I'll see you next week right here at Comicstorian.